Tell me true. You sure didn't expect to ever see a video with this title, right? Gotta be clickbait, you said to yourself. The show is already perfect, some of you are saying. Why would you even want the MCU saved, some others might be saying. Since when does the MCU need saving? The rest of you might be saying. Well, this is for real. Out of all the Marvel miniseries, I think this was the one that could have hit like a plane, and you know what? I'm not gonna finish that. In the year that marked a carpet bomb of disappointing results for all Disney brand products, not just movies but even their parks, to the point where they decided to bring down the number of MCU products down to 1 in 2024. I will tell you how they could have fashioned an unforgettable knockout show of fun and energy. How it could have revitalized consumer trust so spontaneously and surprisingly that everyone would be looking forward to the next movie, which, left to its own devices, would simply disappoint again anyway. My name is Kuzcopia, professional games programmer and lifelong geek, about to tell you how they could have accomplished this with She-Hulk. Now, I'm not going into who they could have hired or what they should have spent their money on. How production strategy and directing tactics should be different across the board in Hollywood productions of today, the corporatizing it and blah blah blah. I'm not in those rooms, I don't know the people, I can't pretend to have a single answer about the business of the MCU show running. I will simply tell you what the show could have shown. The story beats, the plot lines, the character journeys, and most of all, how it could have ended. So, come along on this podcast-like odyssey as I paint a picture of the best Marvel TV show you have never watched, but could have watched. And yes, this is mainly audio, as I wouldn't know how to get visuals to represent most of the story I'm about to tell. I do appreciate a patient ear very much. Hopefully, you'll still think it's dope, even without the visual cues. Our approach is what is on paper the MCU approach since the success of the original Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy movies, an approach they have largely lost the ability to execute on, apparently. Comedy action movies empowered by short-term sci-fi tech, with personal stakes informed by three-dimensional writing. Crucially, the comedy is mostly executed through quips and slapstick, or better said, animated humor. By that I mean the Hulk smashing Loki around in Avengers, Tony Stark's armor pieces coming in Iron Man 3. To clarify on the term, other types of humor would be violent like Deadpool, or scathingly dark like Cohen stuff, or just patently ridiculous like Dumb and Dumber, or whatever the Royal Tenenbaums can be described as. In fact, now that I mention it, Ben Stiller's work does represent a good spread of the kind of comedy that MCU is not interested in. The aforementioned, Zoolander, Tropic Thunder, so many. Anyway, the best characters to do this with, meta-wise, are Deadpool and She-Hulk. But She-Hulk has all the advantages that Disney would want. One, she's PG. Unlike Deadpool, she's not going around goring it up while spouting off jokes so foul they would throw Cartman off this game. Number 2, she's a non-Aryan she-her and one of the most powerful she-hers in the MCU universe. From the outset, you could easily set her up to only be 4th on the power level scale over peers. Thor and Captain Marvel as top 2, with Hulk and her as interchangeable 3rd and 4th. Also, personally, I liked who they cast to play Jennifer Walters. I think her acting ability doesn't fall short of what's required to star in a Marvel TV show, and when allowed she can come off personable, charming, and can be funny. Though I mostly know that because of shoulder content and previous works, and not necessarily watching the actual show. It's a real shame Hollywood actresses, especially young, just get perma-gassed up by both supporters and haters to hate on the target audiences of all these mainstream IPs. By proxy, they hate the products that they're a part of because of all the belligerent grief they have to go through. It's happened way too often, but to be fair, as I say this, it's already kind of an outdated point as actors and actresses are regaining their interest in being likable by the most people possible instead of, combative or defensive. But I digress. You're not here for social or industry commentary. Who am I to offer any of that? You're here to find out how the hell a She-Hulk show could save the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let us start. Pop fun music. Courtroom. Judge declares defendant not guilty. Everyone celebrates, but Jen just high-fives her friend and one-arm hugs the man she's just offended. He claims she's practically saved his life and she suddenly tells him that's good to hear, because then he'll be happy to pay the lifesaver clause that was in the contract. Oh, you didn't read it? Well, you signed it. Just a joke. Free tip from a lawyer. Read the contract carefully. She can say that to the camera to immediately establish a characteristic fourth wall breaking that would have been in the trailers. Anyway, I'm meeting someone, she says, so bye. Leaving the courtroom, she's met with the press, who get her name wrong and then just ask about the Hulk, her cousin, Bruce Banner. This annoys her and she walks away. A shady dude follows her and she soon notices him. She makes a turn and gets out a spray can and full turns to face him, and of course, we all expect our strong independent lead to succeed. Actually though, the man reacts fast, blocking it with his hand and knocking it out of her hand. He swipes a knife, scaring the bejeebies out of her while yelling, "It's her fault, it's her fault." She dodges back but falls and he lunges at her but is then grabbed by a gigantic green hand. Our emasculated Hulk has grabbed the assaulter's hand. Jan's fright utterly evaporates as she gets up, quipping something like, "Normally I'd be insulted you didn't just wait for me at the cafe, but I guess I should spare you this time." He just obviously replies a very dull, "You're welcome." So they then walk away and do what I think would be a nice gag. As they conversate, Hulk never lets go of the man, carrying him by the hand like a toddler. And like a toddler, the man starts freaking out, stabs the Hulk, yells for help. Like a toddler, he eventually resigns himself and allows himself to be dragged across the floor. Soon enough, that hurts though, so he gets up and just awkwardly walks alongside them, sheepishly hulking Hulk's hand like it's his, father. They eventually pass by a police office where they just drop him off. All while they're talking amongst each other, completely ignoring him. I'm pretty sure this would be funny. Anyway, so the talk starts with what the hell she was thinking trying to ambush the guy, and this discussion is meant to establish that Jan's pretty impetuous and kinda lives like everything always turns out fine, which she would say in some kind of words because it always does. During the conversation, we established that this is a forlorn, not very happy Bruce Banner. He practically has no life that really interests him. Every now and again, there's some Avengers action, but everyone just wants him to be the Hulk. But he spent all his life working to be a scientist. He is a scientist at heart. And that's what he wants to do, but no one will finance him or his ideas. And indeed, with that body, it's extremely difficult to work equipment. We probably can't do this little detail because of him doing just that in Endgame. But whatever, we could workshop why he can't be a scientist. More likely people are just blocking him because they don't want him to not be the Hulk when he's needed, Anyway, he's also noticed that, dangerously enough, he's getting dumber. I think that's a good idea. If he's getting dumber, he would definitely be worried. But basically, he's sad that he's the Hulk. That's it. He's getting really sick of being the Hulk. Jan has no empathy really, beyond the polite get-a-grip sense of humor. She thinks it would be awesome to be the Hulk and have his strength. She would be happy to be that all of the time. She also expouges on his achievements and how proud she is of him, which works as a bit of catch-up for anyone not familiar with the Hulk and his part in the Avenger movies. But most importantly, a reminder that we do consider this guy to be a hero. It is like an established fact. What is also established is the rapport between them, real family bonding that I think Ruffalo could pull off even if it's a bit beyond her acting ability, which I don't know that it is. She makes him laugh, while he inspires her. At the same time, her lack of empathy is hurtful to him, and his sheepishness is very annoying to her. We have the family dinner, and it's just a scaling of what I described, but I would have it be quieter and more reserved. Please, no Blue Beetle family vibes at all, for freaking once. I swear every time I see a family dinner in a superhero movie, it's like the Greek wedding. So none of that. Instead, I want tension, a very tense dinner, because everyone still has the habit to try and not upset Bruce, due to his past. We can establish that he tried to live a normal life while he still had the Hulk issue, but it was, he left scars. Psychological anyway. I'd like Jan to be the one to break that tension and bring some needed levity and trust towards him, showing that above more than anybody else, she really trusts him. Here, our Hulk makes a special announcement. He thinks he's found a cure to de-Hulkify himself. Mixed reception. Jan definitely hates the idea, especially because Bruce says it's not without risk, fatal risk, but he's willing to do it. I'd like a heartfelt discussion about all the people the Hulk can help but won't, in which his conclusion is, ultimately, I can help more with my brain than my strength, which is obviously arguable, but still legitimate for him to believe. Good for fan discussion too. Cut to Office and her friend and some ladies' gossip time. Outside of my wheelhouse, so I'll just say they talk about the big case concerning a defendant of Jen's that's been going on for a while. It's reaching the end, but as it's looking like she will win and prove he's innocent, they're getting more and more pressure to take a plea deal. Rumors are that the guy was set up by organized crime, so there's a threat there, but Jen's not too fussed. She never is. All of that is just bait for following episodes. As far as this one's concerned, Jen needs to go and support Bruce in his operation. Last time, I was absent and everything went to hell. Maybe I'm the lucky charm is missing. My clients sure think so. Anyway, this thing with the Hulk goes horribly wrong. During the procedure, the angry Mad Hulk comes back for a bit, fighting back against the efforts to wipe him out. It doesn't fully manifest, but it's enough to punch some stuff and trigger a chain reaction that blows the hell out of the gamma device Bruce was using. Again, I'd need some on-location workshopping to figure out the details in this specific scenario, like the actual physical set. But it's my goal to have Jen risk her life to save someone else. But like with the guy with the knife, I want her to freak the hell out the moment it goes out of hand and she's about to die. So she freaks out trying to save this person, saves this person, then she's about to die and freaks the fool out, you know? She goes unconscious, her skin and body mutating uglily green and gray and red to tease all the different Hulk variants we get in the comics. I think that would be cool. We see deformed heads and whatnot to tease those parts of it too. Brainiac and whatnot. Is his name Brainiac? Yeah. Bruce walks up utterly distressed. To clarify, he's de-Hulkified, back to human. But Jen is dying. He's thinking, he has an idea, but it sickens him. Calling out her name, saying he's sorry, he tells her he has no other ideas. He uses a syringe to get blood out of him and shoves it into her. We're cousins, hopefully there's enough. Jen? Jen! Full Metal Gear Solid moment, I'm referencing when Snake dies. Snake! Snake! Because here's the part that the MCU loves the most. Anyway, says Jen's voice as a narrator, offering the drama no legitimate pause for effect. Enough with the drama, this is my show, and we're only on episode 1. You've seen the trailers, so how about we just cut past all the scenes where I don't know what's going on, and just get to the part you're all here to see. And we cut to She-Hulk walking into the courtroom, waving at a crowd of reporters who only ask about her, and nothing else. No Bruce Banner questions. Who knew a little green was all it took to get people to notice the best lawyer in the city? Or something like that. She says something like that. A reporter asks her if she's worried about rumors that known gangster, I don't know, Greg Kilch needs her client to be convicted or else the investigations on him will open up back again. She laughs at it. What could she possibly have to worry about anymore? And we end soon after this. So that's the intro. What would follow would be self-contained episodes centered around She-Hulk lady shenanigans with two overarching elements. A fully human Bruce Banner coaching her on being a Hulk. A few important beats is her never taking his lessons seriously and gradually becoming more full of herself because she doesn't have the Mr. Hyde element where she loses her mind when she gets mad. I would keep that viral moment where she tells him about how bad life is for a high-profile New York elite woman, but only so he contextualizes his own past and struggles with the Hulk. This would be a heavy temper flare about his own suffering that would actually produce a part of him to half Hulk out. And the first time we see Jen afraid, or at least seriously worried. Training would either stop after the scene or seriously diminish. Bruce isolates himself to investigate if there's a problem with himself, now suspecting that the Hulk isn't as gone as he previously thought. Jen, however, is far too distracted with her own shenanigans. There's concern, but like any other full adult cousins, if they don't want to talk, in terms of episodic things, they would be crime-based, with some sections of that Sex and the City vibe that everyone wanted out of this show too. Which is fair enough since she's a single high-value white lady in New York, as I mentioned before. I do something with my mobster idea and escalate it, the one-night stand catfishing gag would still take place. So in the actual show as it was produced, there's this subplot where Jen scores a date as She-Hulk, but then goes untransformed. So the guy's like, hey, I want the She-Hulk. That guy is sus, and his interest in She-Hulk is sus. But also, I would use this as one of the many things to show that Jen is not as in control as she thinks. Like, I would have her friend be the voice of reason, telling her something like, are you crazy? Of course he was upset. How would you feel? Stop yelling at me. I know how I'd feel because it's happened to me. Then you should know better, shouldn't you? Stop yelling. And she transforms and rips clothes. Stuff like that. What's crucial is that her problem is controlling the transformation, but she never changes her personality, she never changes character. There's no Mr. Hyde to Jen, you know? I don't know, she just stays true to the canon character that there's only one character, there's no two, there's not a psychological alter ego. You can tell when I go off screen. Anyway, yeah, she eventually gets ambushed by the mob, gassed or roofied or something that will work while she's human, thanks to that sus guy who sets her up after wanting to apologize for going off on her, maybe. Like, he'll message her, oh, it was wrong of me to be upset at the catfishing. And she's like, yes, I'm right, my friend is wrong, and you were wrong too, and I accept your apology. It's very nice of you to apologize. And so he goes, let me make it up to you. I'll take you somewhere great and expensive, and we can really spend some quality time, and I don't care about She-Hulk, I care about you. And Jen's like, of course, I deserve to be pampered, and I deserve love. And then she gets ambushed. I made that sound way more childish than how we would portray in the show. Obviously, I'm trying to entertain. Half powered up, she escapes and tries to get to Bruce's house. Almost makes it too. Our guys catch up with the van as she depowers, passing out completely. Bruce thinks she's dead, or just from the situation of the criminals trying to get her, hulks out, right? However, this isn't the emasculated Hulk. Jen wakes up to sirens and destruction and is shocked to see the Incredible Hulk in its back to the drawing board Mr. Violent Hyde magnificence. So she goes to stop him as She-Hulk. And this, my friends, is the strong and independent female lead's time. Pose, cool one-liner, let's get it on! But that's not what happens, because we want the audience to be in love with our female lead by the time the show ends, and that means we start with all these flaws I've been laying out, plus this. She gets utterly smashed. And ew, get your mind out of the gutter. I mean Hulk smash. Damn it, she gets crushed, she gets beaten, alright? And then she goes, of course, like, okay, now I'm mad, I'm sick of trying to talk you out of this. And, you know, she hulks out to her max, connect strikes that actually hurt the Hulk. And, like, they crash through walls, cars, streets, hurting people. But that just makes the Hulk madder, doesn't it? You know? And if he gets madder, he gets stronger and actually challenged. He just goes harder and hurts her badly. A broken arm, I guess, will do, and knocks her out of her She-Hulk form and unconscious. She wakes up to a terrible scene and a horrible realization that she really contributed to all of it. So, the Hulk escaped Manhattan, leaping out into the sea, old school style. Everyone's freaked out because the bad Hulk is back, but she's the one on everyone's crosshairs. Jen gets sued for engaging the Hulk despite no experience, training, being an Avenger, etc., knowing full well that the Hulk only gets more violent when attacked. If he's not defeated, he's just gonna get madder, angrier, more violent, and do even worse damage to whatever surrounds him. Everyone knows this. So we use those Accord things, the shield stuff, I don't know. I haven't mentioned shield, but obviously they've been in the background during all the training sessions which have been happening at their facilities. They want her to take a deal and promise her leniency in the form of community work for a few years. Yeah, you know what that means. They want to recruit her, draft her. Now, nobody wants to defend her because it's such an unwinnable case. That is, until a blind lawyer comes into play. Jen struggles to get back in her groove, acting and behaving a lot more like her sad cousin. Her friend or friends are trying to gas her up and whatnot, but she's just unable to get back in a good mood. She could have helped Bruce. I mean, the first time he even showed a symptom of the transformation was because of her arguing with him. She also could have been smarter about the gangsters, and so much destruction. A person is dead, maybe. I mean, it depends on what the network allows. Bruce is just gone doing God knows what, and she's confined and soon to be incarcerated or drafted, and thus unable to help anybody. Ironically, that terrible state of mind finally allows her to listen to advice and mentorship. How lucky she is, then, to receive the legal counsel of Matt Murdock. This and the finale would be the focus of my writing sessions. I want quotables, I want life lessons, I want sexual tension, and though I'd personally not have the sex between them, I'd allow it if people want it. Just make it be meaningful. Just a legitimate romantic connection. What's wrong with that? Even if there's no commitment, I mean, that's both of their deals. Both of them are like that. I think that's fine. Anyway, back to the cool stuff. Come on, let's go. Murdock talks about sometimes doing something that looks wrong because it's just the right thing to do, and that helping people is never the wrong thing to do. Jen is convinced there's no way she could ever beat Bruce. I mean, after the beating she took. They do discuss how they could possibly calm him down, but short of Bruce doing it himself, he was only ever calmed down because of someone he loves. But there's no one like that in his life anymore. Black Widow's dead and Betty's not a thing in the MCU. I don't know, is she? Clearly, Jen isn't enough since he almost killed her already. Murdock intimates there's always another way, and oftentimes not the direct one. No man beats a bull by running at it head first. This all makes Jen think outside of the box and come up with another idea. Outside of the love thing, there's only ever been one man to ever defeat the Hulk out of Banner. So she has the terrible idea of going to Abomination. They meet, he plays his part ingratiating himself with her, and they make a deal, and she sets him free and immediately gets betrayed. Jen hulks out to stop him from all out escaping, but the Abomination is as strong as the Hulk, but massively more vicious and intelligent. Makes fun of her even. She-Hulk stands no chance. She's already having Vietnam flashbacks of her prior beating. Daredevil shows up to the rescue. What are you doing? There's no way you can fight him. There's always another way, Daredevil emphasizes, and hopefully this is the first time Jen realizes that he's Matt. That would be cool. Daredevil makes the Abomination chase him across a few blocks into an abandoned factory of some kind, or a building. He's agile and acrobatic. Abomination chases him like that fat dragon chases the party in Dungeons and Dragons movie, if you saw it. If you didn't, you should see it, it's really fun. He just keeps crashing and slipping and stuff. Remember, MCU, humor, slapstick, la-di-da-da-da. Eventually, he ambushes the Abomination, who very much needs its eyesight. He uses flashing lights, gases, and massive syringes. Now, we don't actually have the Daredevil defeating the Abomination like this. That's just ridiculous and diminishing of what's supposed to be one of the most powerful supervillains on Earth, and also, it's not Daredevil's show, and he's more than been emphasized and honored. He does, though, do enough that She-Hulk can come in and fight him and win, using her strength to inject him with what's necessary and some cool combos with Daredevil, who can throw things at structural weak points that any humanoid bone should have, like knees and necks and whatnot, or his balls. MCU humor would like that, though I personally wouldn't have Abomination squeaking like a mouse, but I wouldn't be against them hijinks since this is still a She-Hulk encounter. In any effect, She-Hulk is definitely cool in this fight and practically gets her groove back, ending it with her jovial and confident demeanor. Jokes even. After the fight, Daredevil and She-Hulk have a follow-up conversation to drive home the point that there's always another way. Also, he takes his mask off. There's no defending you before the law now. You let him out. I won't bring you in, but they'll have to. You won't because you don't want to, or because you can't? Well, can't expect me to have a building like this around every corner, or can you? Obviously a joke. Or is it? One of the S.H.I.E.L.D. members has become a friend of Jen's and part of her Sex and City entourage, like throughout the show. There's a funny to be found, I think, in a heart-strung S.H.I.E.L.D. agent learning to be chill and just be a girl in the big city. So we'd set that up for this point of the story. I just decided, I think the audience that wants to see some Sex in the City, the sub-storylines would enjoy that kind of dynamic, I think. Very high-strung, like military lady, learning to be a girl. It sounds funny to me, I don't know. Anyway, mostly it would manifest Jen's social skills, like her ability to be likable by everyone and all kinds of people. And also, it's important for this, because I need a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent to be on Jen's side, because I need someone to tell her about a Hulk sighting, because it's supposed to be secret. Obviously, S.H.I.E.L.D. is after the Hulk and doesn't want the public to know. But Jen has a friend in S.H.I.E.L.D. who tells her that they've seen the Hulk somewhere. So Jen stows on a plane as She-Hulk and goes. Location? Vietnam, or somewhere around that area of the world. I think it's a cool scenery for the finale. Hopefully we could do it on location. Should be cheap. Anyway, final episode. And also a good place for them to disappear, which they will at the end of the show, but spoilers. Spoilers about this completely fictitious. Anyway, the Hulk is still fully him. Kind of like in Thor Ragnarok, he is not allowing Bruce to get back. His personality is kind of like that too, just a bit more feral. Jen banters him until they start fighting. She has him chasing her across the jungle, and this is where I would need a lot of writing sessions, because my goal here is to give another way to the love path. She-Hulk will use her environment to hinder the Hulk and just focus on not getting caught or crushed, all while she employs quips and slapstick to tickle Banner's phony bone, which is something she, as his cousin, knows how to do. Instead of being calmed down by a loving caress, the Hulk eventually lofts his way back into Bruce Banner, which, not to toot my own horn once again, isn't it a great idea? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's new. I don't remember, I haven't read every Hulk comic, but I don't remember it being a thing, neither in cartoons, and I think it fits great. Laughter can absolutely relax someone who's angry and just break completely their rageful mood. Of course, it can make it worse, but this is Jan, this is his cousin, the exceptionally personable, sociable, funny, really hitting him where it will work. Now, Hulk has often been shown to have a sense of humor, right? Even in the original Avengers. Quite honestly, to be perfectly frank, this is why I wanted to make this video. I really think it's such a slam dunk, amazing contribution to the Hulk lore. It just should be part of it. And it really connects the two and makes Jen, She-Hulk, very special part of the Hulk lore. Because again, she, canonically and in the show, well, it was supposed to be in the show, but canonically, she is funny, she's personable, she's very close to Banner in exactly that kind of way. Not romantically, just in that kind of way. That's a big part of her character, so it just makes perfect sense to kind of weaponize it in this way. The Hulk is calmed down not by love, but by humor, which instantly turns into a crying hug scene even as they laugh. The cousins who were always close like siblings from the very start of the show, all that rapport we built now melts away as She-Hulk has practically defeated the Hulk. Another way. So, even though she doesn't beat his ass, I still think people would consider her the winner and like the superior in this situation. I still think this would be a win, and way more well regarded because of that, I think. Because she found her way as an underdog of overcoming the situation, a completely overwhelming and impossible to overcome situation. She did it. I think people would love it. We end the show on a sour note though. This is important so that people want to see more. Both are now international criminals and will be persecuted. After all the adventures, Bruce is back at his life before the Avengers, having gained nothing. To make matters worse, now his cousin is in the same boat. But this is when we realize that it doesn't actually make it worse. Jan gasses him up, she's optimistic and funny and charming against his straight man dourness. The dynamic for season 2 can be surmised from that interaction. Bruce knows how to survive off radar and train inner peace and is a brilliant scientist. And Jan has the will to live, the capacity to find joy, whatever the situation, and she not only sees the good in people, but in the future. And she's funny. She can be the soul that keeps him from trying to eat bullets, he can be the mature one trying to keep them safe and responsible, keep them from dying, or being captured, experimented on. But most importantly, the Hulk is back, baby! Daredevil rules, baby! And She-Hulk is amazing! In conclusion, wrapping a neat pretty bow around the implications of my version of the show, It's well set up for a damn good part to play in the upcoming movie going by the name, as we've got two Hulks gone rogue on the run, and She-Hulk is secretly super best friends with a Shield Age, or whatever they have now in its place. This means they're ripe to be dropped into any situation needing a Deus Ex Machina to come to the rescue, and you'd need minimal prep. A few comments in the briefing updating everyone on the fact that the two Hulks are still MIA, perhaps some good acting on behalf of the Shield agent in question, going like, oh yeah, I have no idea what's going on, SMS, oh wow, no shit, Jen, my goodness. And that's all. As I mentioned before, She-Hulk is potentially an arguable top 3 powerhouse, but she can de-transform into a regular white lady to save on CGI and remind everyone she's that funny and likable character that the audience grew to love from all her screw-ups, things going wrong over and over, and yet her never giving up on wanting to do the right thing. Despite the apparent superficiality with which we started the out-of-touch New York elite presentation, she never even considered not helping Bruce, and wasn't a brooding mess, but consistently a fun hang. And not just Bruce, of course, like with so many people across the show, starting with the person that she saves just before getting poisoned with the radiation before she transforms, including Daredevil. That's why she's even in the finale of the Abomination fight. She's worried about Matt. So despite the Vietnam flashbacks with the Hulk, she does go after him, because she wants to help. She wants to help people at the end of the day, you know. It's She-Hulk. We can't wait to see her again. Alas, none of this was meant to be. The show was what it was. It reportedly did great, and then somehow, for some reason, it was cancelled anyway. Them's the breaks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being so patient. If you did listen to the whole thing, goodness, I would love to hear what you think of my idea for a She-Hulk, and whether it would really make you look forward to more shows and to more material and to these characters again. Do you agree with me that Daredevil would have been better served in this version? Do you agree with me that the Hulk would be better served by reverting back to its Avengers form? Not just the Hulk, but the Bruce Banner dynamic. We got the scientist back, and the struggle, the inner turmoil, and all of that jazz. And do you agree with me that it would be more fun to have the She-Hulk here? My only doubt here is, if we build this character around the mood and presentation of Sex and the City New York elite shenanigans, how do we continue that? How do we keep that alive? I have ideas, absolutely, the same way she brought the Shield agent into her kind of deal. It would be funny to see her interacting with people from these regions and from these cultures, and she would want to be around people way more than Bruce Banner ever wanted to, and this would be actually quite a point of friction between the two, because the Bruce would just be like, we need to stay away, we need to stay safe, and she's like, what are we staying safe for if not to have fun and to live our lives? We need some kind of life, and it would be nice for her to try and do the New York things in these other cities. So instead of keeping them to like farms or jungle villages where you can't do anything but survive, it'd be nice to see them actually on the outskirts of actual cities, actual capital cities. Vietnam, Malaysia, Taiwan, whatever. We could go to different places and we could see Jen hash it out in these other cultures and finding different foods and have a little like, oh my goodness, so spicy. I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential there, and there's a lot of curious stuff that you could do that would be fun to see and fun to experiment with at the character level, rather than at alternate universes. What if she was... I'm not gonna finish that thought. What if she was something else? I think it would be fun. I'm waffling now. I'm done. Thank you for listening to this podcast, I suppose. And we'll see how this video does. The title is pretty crazy, but I would be surprised if I get a lot of views reaching the end of the video. But thank you. Thank you for giving me a shot and a chance, and I hope you liked it for the 1000th time. But for the first time, and I hope you're well, and I hope you be well, and take care, and have a nice week. See ya.